The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is currently the latest game in the Zelda series. It was also released on the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch. Unlike many reviews out there, this review is for the Wii U version, and that's what version you're seeing footage of. Nearly all of my points stand for the Switch version as well, but there will be a few differences. With that being said, let's get the review started. The game is beautiful. You know how Skyward Sword kinda tried to look really nice and vibrant, but failed really badly and just sorta looked grainy and washed out? This game does what Skyward Sword tried to do. The colors are vibrant, the textures are crisp, and the models are gorgeous and highly detailed. And the lighting really adds a lot to how beautiful the game is. The voice acting is well done. I think a lot of people went into Breath of the Wild expecting Mario Sunshine quality voice acting.
I won't let you take Mama Peach away! Mama Peach?
Where people's opinions are between pointless and bad. The voice acting in Breath of the Wild is very well done with nearly every character, and it adds a lot of character to every, character. This might only be the case in the North American version, though I seriously doubt it. Most of the controls work well. Link's movements feel incredibly smooth, and that goes for just about everything he can do. Paragliding, horse riding, bow aiming, it all feels really nice. I should point out that I played the game with the Wii U Pro controller, and the Wii U gamepad adds the ability to aim with gyro controls. The Wii U gamepad isn't required to beat the game, but there are a few relatively optional puzzles that can't be completed without it. The enemies are well designed. In previous Zelda games, enemies were decent, but always had a similar look. For instance, moblins have always been huge monsters that look a bit goofy. Breath of the Wild has moblins, and they don't look goofy. They look like something out of your nightmares. The world is incredibly open. They said when they were working on the game that you could go anywhere you could see. With very few exceptions, this is true. You can climb almost any mountain, get almost anywhere, and do almost everything in any order you want. You can skip almost the entire game, but you likely won't survive. This game is brutal. I know this might be seen as a negative, but I like the difficulty. In my first 10 minutes of playing, I found an enemy camp. Naturally, I went into it with little more than a stick. I died more than 5 times. I don't think I've ever died in a Zelda game as much as I did in the first hour of Breath of the Wild. My reasoning for dying was my own. I approached the game like I would any other Zelda game. Stupid AI, slow attacks, and bad aim. Instead I got the opposite, and I had to think through my strategy in order to win. You can cook food. In past Zelda games, you recovered hearts by cutting grass, breaking pots, and defeating enemies. Breath of the Wild forces you to find and eat food to restore your health. Some foods have additional effects like cold and heat resistance. Cooked food also restores more health than uncooked food. There are also special food items you can make by combining certain ingredients. You have to work for upgrades. This game has a stamina wheel similar to Skyward Sword's. As I don't like Skyward Sword, and the stamina wheel is a big part of why, I wasn't looking forward to dealing with it again here. But it's okay in this game. Link moves fast enough that you won't have to run everywhere, and you can get a horse incredibly early for even faster movement. Stamina is useful because you need it to climb mountains. Another useful upgrade is heart containers. The game almost always has you choose if you'd rather upgrade heart containers or your stamina, and it's never an easy decision. Amiibo aren't remotely required. I was a bit unhappy when I saw a pretty heavy emphasis on Amiibo in the demos for this game. I really hated the idea that Amiibo would greatly improve on the game and unlock content that should be in the game for free. I'm happy to say that Amiibo figures are completely optional and don't really add to the experience. You can scan Zelda-themed Amiibo for useful in-game items, but you can also scan any Amiibo, including Animal Crossing cards, and get food. You can only use each Amiibo once per day, so bust out your Animal Crossing Amiibo card collection. The soundtrack is great. It doesn't play as often as it does in most Zelda games, where the silence is rare and a bit of a treat. In Breath of the Wild, silence is common and the soundtrack is a rare treat. It accompanies the game very well and sounds very adventurous. It's also very piano heavy, which is something I will always appreciate. You can't just keep using the same items over and over. If there's an item that is used in combat, it will eventually break. I like the concept, and I'll get into the execution later on. But this keeps players from finding an amazing sword and then just using it for the whole game, and the same goes for the bow and shield. The world is varied. Twilight Princess has a bit of a reputation from having a fairly big world, but there being very little in it. A lot of people feared Breath of the Wild would suffer from the same problem, but I'm happy to say that it doesn't. There are enemy camps, towns, stables, and most importantly, shrines to keep the world full of variety. There are a lot of useful items. I'm not going to say exactly what will make them useful, just so you have something to discover. But wood, monster remains, gems, and food are all very useful items to have on you. There's a good number of armor options. The gameplay you've been seeing in the background only has clothing from early in the game and clothing from the trailer. This is done on purpose and is for spoiler reasons. All clothing increases a stat like defense or cold resistance, which means that you won't just be sitting in default clothing for the whole game. Fire is amazing. I know I sound like a massive pyromaniac saying that, but for this game it's true. If you light a torch on fire, you carry an amazing feature on the end of a stick. You can light grass on fire, light wooden weapons on fire, even light enemies on fire. Fire is a versatile weapon in this game, and it's only a tree branch away. And a campfire, that's also useful. Characters look like they belong. This is the first Zelda game to feature both Zors and Rito, and I was very interested in seeing how they'd look. They look great! It's nice to see Rito with a more realistic model, and they actually gave a different look to different Zoras. Also, there are children in every race. I'm not showing them for spoiler reasons, but they exist, and they're very cute. Except the Gorons. They look like a tiny Goron. Weapons break too quickly. I'm fine with weapons breaking, but why would a sword made for combat break only after a few uses? Amazing sounding bows that have lore behind them are the same way, and perfectly capable looking shields break slower than swords and bows, but they still break way too easily. Side quests have little meaning. In past Zelda games, you could get a variety of useful items from doing side quests. While some side quests are still useful in this game, most of the time you can prepare yourself for 50 rupees. I don't mean like 50 here, 20 there, and the occasional 100. It's almost always 50. Side quests are too hard. I know this sounds whiny, but they seriously expect you to find 11 locations based on a single angle a picture was taken in and your own experience in the game. I'm not terribly ashamed that I needed to look up the location of one of the pictures. Only one. Frame rate. Both versions of the game suffer from this apparently. The frame rate ranges from fine to bad. If you grew up with Majora's Mask, then this is okay, but it's still a bad frame rate. Breath of the Wild isn't perfect. There are issues that I wish didn't exist, obviously. If I gave games a number, it would be a 9 out of 10. I would call it the best in the series, and it is my personal favorite. And that's coming from someone who's been playing the series his whole life and has loads of nostalgia for many of the games.